the closest I've been to divinity is in nature.
Sanctuary Farms did not begin with a blueprint. It began with the belief that access to healthy food is not a privilege, but a right, and that land can be both a teacher and a refuge. In this conversation, John Kent shares how cultivating connection between people, resources, and purpose became his way of restoring community and self alike. I just want to say thank you so much for joining me here in AwareNow to share this space and to share your story. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
So let's go back to the beginning of all of this, shall we? Before Sanctuary Farms was land, plans, or possibility, I imagine it was a feeling. Can you take me back to the moment when you first realized that this wasn't just something you wanted to do, but something that you had to build?
I've always been a very caring person. And my grandmother says at a very young age, she was aware that I had a conscience that I think, but she was also alluding to her being a very spiritual woman as a soul. And growing up in the city of Detroit, I, got to experience and see a lot of divestment that was going on in the city. I kind of had the experience of the tale of two cities because though my parents weren't very wealthy, they were sure to show me a life in which people had. And I want to be very clear, I never had to, I didn't miss any meals,
Mm-hmm.
I was very fortunate. We were very wise about utilizing very limited resources to extend its longevity. So I would go on and do theater and acting is, I call it the art of empathy. Acting is all about putting yourself in another person's shoes and being unjudgmental about why the character acts that way, which really opens up your own understanding of self and really invites you to investigate who you are. And there I could find that love is true to the core of my being, and I think many others, however they may manifest differently. So I became aware of Anthropocene, this epoch we're living in as a teenager, and again wanting to understand more about myself and what I cared about. I cared about this because I saw that we were causing harm to something that is giving us life.
Yeah.
And that has always stuck with me. And I would go on to college, to SMC. I would meet Parker Jean, who's a dear friend and brother. And we got involved in Associated Students, which is like student government at our community college. I would also meet my wife there, unbeknownst to me at the time. So I have a lot of love and appreciation for SMC. And at our time at AS, Associated Students, we were heavily involved in sustainability projects. Fast forward, I would move back home to Detroit because I was moved out to Santa Monica when I was a young teenager to pursue acting. When I moved back home, Parker was here, and we just kind of picked up where we left off on this whole sustainability talks, and because we were both at our time where we were in our late 20s and not really happy with our positionality in the world. We didn't feel like we were really doing anything to give back. We also didn't feel like we had any power within our respective roles at the time. So for us, it was like, how can we do something that we're passionate about and we feel like we have agency in, and we're actually doing something that is good.
Yeah.
Uh, so Parker got into landscaping, and he mentioned that composting wasn't being done at the level that it could be in the city, and that sparked off everything. And here we are now.
And here we are now. So, the Sanctuary Farm story, it seems to be one that talks about working in harmony with the land and not just cultivating food, but building relationships, stewardship, and community. So, what has working with the land, what has it taught you about patience, trust, or leadership? What has it taught you something that no traditional classroom or course could ever teach you?
Yeah, Ali, I want to be very clear to hold up the contradictions, because I am not a farmer, and I don't spend a lot of the time on the land that I'd like to. When me and Parker first started, I leaned on his ability and his farm experience to kind of help us through this. And, it started off us kind of helping build things together. And in the course of doing it, and also, I'm really big on brain trust and speaking with elders. I spoke to all these people to help understand the context of this work. What were the gaps, and how could we join in uh, to make a impact and build upon their triumphs and learn from their failures? You know what I mean? Um, so in doing so, I realized the both of us being on this farming was not going to get us to that next level. And um, I'm really good at connecting with people. Um, I, I am a storyteller. I know how to write. Uh, I'm relentless when it comes to reaching out to people and making the vision happen. So, Parker works actually more on the land, and I'm behind the scenes guy, really putting the pieces together and making sure that everything works out as relates to making sure that we have policy that can enable our work, funding, um, bringing on different team members. So the goal eventually is to be able to get to a place where we have such a robust team that I can sit my ass down. um, I think if I'm the viewer, it would, you know, beg the question of, well, why are you so passionate about this if you hardly are able to enjoy it? Because I have in the past. And I do continue to. It's not that I'm never at the farm. The closest I've been to divinity is in nature.
Yeah.
There have been so many pivotal moments in my life where I wasn't sure where I was going to go, or where it was going to lead me, or if I should stay here. And going into nature, deep into nature, I'm talking about mountains of Santa Cruz to the beach in Santa Monica, or to Belle. It has always informed me and endowed me with the spirit of resilience.
Yeah.
And connection. And I too want to be able to be a part of something where I didn't necessarily have access to when I grew up in the city of Detroit. I became far more connected with nature when I moved across the world to a very well-to-do space, where didn't have a lot of people that looked like me there. And this work is very important to me because I want to be able to make sure that all humans have access to that. And of course, I'm not here to save the world, because I don't think one person can do that. But I am here to help my community, my people, the best way that I can. And I do feel the way that we are doing it is our way of, food sovereignty, nature equity, and, creating quality soil.
I love that. Everything about what you just shared. So sanctuary farms, then you just said helping your community. But it's not just helping people. It's restoring access. The word you said previous, agency, dignity. Question for you now is, how do you personally define food justice? And what do you think most people misunderstand about that?
I want to answer that question, and I will answer that question. But before I do, I want to really thank you for bringing up an important piece. You mentioned this isn't just anthrocentric, human focused.
Mhm.
As a deep ecologist, and folks who are unfamiliar with that terminology, it is a philosophy that I would ask of your audience to go look up, which was coined by Arness, but really harkens back to a lot of indigenous ways of living, that the world around us is not focused just on our own survival. And if we look at the many things that we call our natural resources, also has implications of humans valuing it only based on what it can do for us. Water is not merely a resource, it is an entity that is, and we should respect it as that. That's the same with soil, that's the same with air, and so many other elements that are essential for our survival. And as the apex predator, because we are that,
Yeah.
we have a responsibility to do right by those things. And this isn't to romanticize nature, because it can get gully. It is, it can kill you,
Oh,
But we have been doing a far better job of killing it. And we have to acknowledge that. And that is the imbalance. That is the contradiction that we must face. So to return to your question of food justice is making sure folks who historically have not had say or power within the system are helping create that system, and making sure folks have quality food and are able to feed themselves and community. When we speak of food justice, we have to speak of also food access, and slash food security and food sovereignty. Those are not all the same, but all together they create a transformative food system. Food access and food security speaks to the fact that there is enough food for people to have and to eat. But you can have food security in prison. They have enough food to feed themselves. Is it food justice? No. Is it food sovereignty? No. Food justice, as I mentioned earlier, is making sure people are part and have power within that food system. Food sovereignty speaks that people actually have equity and ownership within the land or business that is either growing or distributing or adding a value-added product to that.
that is, so brilliantly defined. So now we know.
I didn't come up with that. I want to be very clear. I'm a student, and I think it's important to iterate what one has learned and emphasize that this comes from many works within the past. What I'm here to do is help make sure it's implemented where it is that I should say within the space that we're doing now, which is in Detroit.
Yeah. And that's just it, right? It's like taking that understanding and applying it and using it. So let's talk about the word. I love words. The word sanctuary carries a lot of weight. I think of safety, belonging, rest. When someone steps into sanctuary farms and into the work that you're doing for the very first time, what is it that you hope that they feel?
home, at peace, connected, appreciated, respected, loved, in community, confident, responsible, accountable. Um, just to give you a backstory of how we came to that. So when we were figuring out the name, I came to Park. I said, peace is something that's really important to me. I sign off and with peace always on my emails, and always sure to say peace when I leave. I have many friends and loved ones that start off with peace. You know, I'm still on the what's good, what up though, but all good. Nonetheless, or high. It depends on how I'm feeling. So that said, I was like, you know what? I'm thinking of like, calling the farm Peace Farms, but I feel like that's a little trite.
Mhm.
I feel like Peace Farms is a little like, okay. And, not that again, I'm sure there's farms out there called Peace, and all power to you. Peace. And he said, well, what about Sanctuary? And I was like, that's it. Because Sanctuary was fitting because it's already a part of the ecological verbiage and vocabulary, you know what I mean? To have nature spaces that are, nature sanctuaries, So I was like, that's it. And also it spoke on a larger note to the sacredness of the land, and this space being a refuge. So it just made sense, and that's how we became Sanctuary Farm.
Yeah. I mean, the moment I just heard the name of it, I was like, oh, you could almost just feel. I mean, it's the power of words, right? And what incredible alignment you have with them. So creating something rooted in equity, healing, and community is powerful, but it's rarely easy. So question here is, what has been the hardest truth that you've had to sit with as a founder who chose a potentially slower but more intentional path?
Is the work enough? Are we potentially replicating a model that is still a part of a harmful system of exploitation? These are the contradictions that we have to sit with of having a business. I don't have an answer for that, because that is far bigger than myself and the business. And that this isn't to void me of any responsibility, not whatsoever. But this is a much larger conversation that we must have as a society.
Mm-hmm.
Because Sanctuary Farms doesn't work in a vacuum. Doesn't work in a vacuum. Nor does Sacred Spaces. We do our best to focus in on making sure that we can maintain the equality and maintain good relationship with our partners, and making sure the very real sometimes transactional relationships are equitable exchange. But those are the things that I sit with. We must look at ourselves and be sure that we are not walking in ignorance to our own misalignments, and being very clear about how can you grow and be better, and utilizing your knowledge to figure out ways in which you have the capacity to make the necessary change.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's an incredibly important part of it all that you just brought up, because it's like you can have the right intention, but it could be the wrong direction, right?
Intention does not correlate to impact.
Right.
We
Right.
must be very clear about that, you know. Um, just a clear example, I can intend to have thrown the ball in the hoop, but if I hit you in the face with it, I still hit you in the face with that ball, and I have to acknowledge that. But don't allow your ignorance to be a hindrance. It is an opportunity to open up, to learn, and to connect.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and to that point, when you're, talking about contradiction, it's a assumptions can be dangerous leads to contradiction. And so I love the fact that you sit, as you're saying, with like being mindful of this and to sit and to evaluate and think about it, not just to move forward with this great intention with a specific assumption about the direction, but rather to pause and sit with that and to say, is this right? Is this the way? And I think that's something that all of us need to do more often. I do have one more question for you today. And that is not about today, but
Just
about
one more.
just one more. And then I'm going to let you, I know. Blah, 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 blah. Question.
No, I just had to. I had to say that. I had to say that. I did say that. It was
Well,
open.
that holds me accountable to my word. So okay, yes, just one more. I want to talk years from now. Long after crops get rotated, seasons change, the seasons of sanctuary farms. Sanctuary farms will leave something behind. So my last question, when future generations tell the story of sanctuary farms, what do you hope they say that it stood for?
The love of land and people.
What more could you want than that? For the love of land and people.
And the words of Stevie Wonder, the world is in need of love. Love is in need of love, today. As we look at clear colonialism that is happening, clear extraction that is going on, taking from regions for products that will be put into the landfill, which degrades our environment. What are we doing for mere capital to be garnered at the expense of lives? And again, I'm not just speaking of human lives, other life forms as well.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think of love, I think of love as Bell Hooks spelled out in her book All About Love, because we have to be clear about what is our definition of love, because it has become so colloquial, it's lost its meaning. And when people say, I love you, that comes with responsibility, that comes with honesty, that comes with support, that comes with trust, that comes with encouragement, that comes with care, like I want people, after watching this video, be conscientious of when you say you love someone, because there's some things that come with that. And if you ain't willing to do that, just don't say you love them or it. You should understand that, that is that is something very, very, very visceral, and a testament that one must fulfill, be accountable to, and give yourself grace. We all fall short, and we will, inevitably. But love is that redemptive thing that gets us back up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I could just listen to you all day long, share all of these thoughts and all of these words and the weight that they carry. Thank you for sharing your story. And thank you for helping all of us become a bit more aware now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ali. I do want to close by letting folks know, I probably should have started with this, but all things started from sanctuary farms as it relates to our urban agri composting and nature sanctuary. But now, Sanctuary Farms is just focused on composting, and we have extrapolated the food sovereignty work and nature sanctuary work into our nonprofit partner, Sacred Spaces. So that is the relationship there. Please reach out to us if you'd like to come volunteer, donate, or have some conversations. Yeah, thank you for having me, Ali.
Appreciate you. Keep rocking it like you do. And again, thank you for helping all of us become a bit more aware now. Thank you so much.